Folks, we are back for UFC 321, which for us in the United States will be a early morning pay-per-view, which is a rarity these days, but it is that in fact. Also, any odds shown in this video or mentioned in this video are brought to you by Cloudbet. Make sure that if you are deciding to put some action down on the fights for UFC 321, that you use the link in the description of this video and promo code 138MMA to get yourself access to a super sick welcome package from our good friends over there at Cloudbet. They are fantastic. Please check them out as you have any of the other links in the description. Cloudbet is the #1 supporter of this channel and has sponsored this video. Without any other talk, let's jump right into the first fight. See there. In our next matchup, we are at 115 pounds. Now, this is an interesting one for a lot of reasons. Let's break this down. Jaqueline Amorim, she takes on Mizuki Inoue, who has not fought in at least a couple of years, and before that, it was another few years, right? So she's 3-2 in her last 5, but you would be hard-pressed to remember who that was unless you went back and tried to find this information prior to watching this video. But 4-1 in the last 5 for Amorim, and you might remember some of her fights because, well, she fights more than once every handful of years. So that's interesting. And then right out of the gate, you look at the odds, and Cloudbet comes to you with a -427 for Amorim and a +352 for Inoue. And I understand from some standpoint, but also I kind of wonder, like, what do we even know about Inoue at this point? We're talking about fights that happened years ago. So, but let's talk about what we know, or at least what we've seen from Inoue in the past, because that's all we have to go off of. And that's kind of what we're going to do here. So a lot of this prediction is going to be just guesswork. So understand that for what it is. Let's talk about it, though. For Inoue, she is a good striker, good head movement, good combinations, and good volume. She's going to come forward, she's going to throw elbows, and she's durable. But she doesn't really have a lot of power. So she's going to come forward and just put it on her opponents, but she's not landing these big shots. When she's hurting opponents, it's from the elbows. When she's, and I mean, the elbow is going to hurt regardless of how hard you hit. But, she's just coming forward, throwing. She's got good movement, so there's a lot of things to like. But, she's not really hurting opponents. So she's just outworking them a lot of the time. And she's pretty tough, so she can take a shot. In the grappling, she's pretty good there, too. She lacks takedowns, so she has a hard time getting the fight there. But she does have good ground and pound, and she has quite a few wins by armbar, so she's clearly got a decent armbar as well. Injuries have really kind of messed up her career. ACL was one of them that took her out for quite a few years, and there's been some other stuff. I don't remember what the last one was off the top of my head, but it's been a slew of injuries and all sorts of stuff, right? That's a problem. So there's that, because some of these injuries are keeping you out of the training room too. So you have that as well. So it's like, are you getting better, or are you just kind of staying stagnant or getting worse? That's a problem. For Amorim, we've seen her more recently. Now, she is wild as heck on the feet, which is why I'm only going to say she's decent, but she will come forward and she's slinging bombs. Her grappling, though, is where she gets it done. She's a solid grappler with really good takedowns, really good ground and pound, nice submission arsenal, and she's attacking those subs quick. I think if Amorim comes out and starts fast, gets this thing going immediately, and goes for that takedown and goes for the finish early, that's her best path to look like this -427, because Inoue hasn't been in there in a while. She's got to shake the cobwebs out. You know what I mean? She's got to break off some of that rust. I understand some people think ring rust isn't real, but it's been years. So that's her best path. If she doesn't do that, if she wants to go in there and kind of feel it out a little bit, which isn't necessarily what she typically does, Inoue at +352 looks pretty good, because even if Inoue loses, she's been losing competitive fights in the past with fighters that are much better than Amorim. She's got split decision loss to Virna Jandiroba. She got a decision loss against Amanda Lemos. She's losing to Alexa Grasso, for example. Fighters that are really gosh darn good, and she only has 6 losses. She's beating fighters that are pretty decent, right? So history says that Inoue shouldn't be a +352, but injuries and the fact that she hasn't fought for more than, twice in the 2020s. She had one in 2020 and one in 22 or 3. I think it was 23. I can't remember. Yeah, it's 2023, because I had the channel going at that time. But either way, I'm frustrated trying to make a pick. I'm going to take Amorim because, she's been fighting. But don't go parlaying her up. I know some people are going to say that she's a good parlay leg. Maybe she will look like it, but you're just guessing. You're just guessing, guys. Let me know. I'll see you in the next flyweight. Azat Maksum takes on Mitch Roposo. Now, both these guys are 3-2 in their last 5 fights. But one of them is a pretty decent-sized favorite. And on Cloudbet, you can get Azat Maksum at minus 316, and you'll find Mitch Roposo at 268, plus 268, that is. Why might that be if they're both 3-2 in their last 5? Well, let's talk about the skills. Now, for Mitch Roposo, decent striker, right? There's a lot to like, but there's a lot that just drives you crazy. He has good combinations. He's got fast hands and a really nice calf kick. That's all awesome. But he's willing to back up, and he can be far too patient at times. Sometimes you're just watching the guy not do something, and you're like, what is going on, man? So, if you're a Mitch Roposo guy, and you see him just standing there not throwing something, but you're like, man, you were doing so well with the calf kick, or, oh, those combinations were landing, you might just not do them. So there's that. He's a decent grappler as well. He's got really good timing on his takedowns, and they'll come at the end of his strikes. Doesn't do a ton with them, but they really can add some flavor to the mix, right? If you get a takedown at a good time, you can steal around, or you can break up a guy's combinations if you're timing these takedowns right, which he does really well. There's a lot to like about Roposo, but there's a lot that just kind of keeps him from getting to that next level. On the other side, for Azat Maksum, he's coming off a couple of losses, but pretty good competition, right? So that's kind of why you're seeing him as a big favorite, because both guys might be coming off of losses, but it's to who they're fighting. For Maksum, good striker, right? Not great, but good. He's got heavy hands. You like that. Good movement, good straight punches, and he seems pretty durable. So those are things you like, right? He's probably going to be the guy that's, doing more on the feet, at least for the most part, just because you see Roposo kind of get too patient. But in the grappling, I think he's a good grappler as well. He's got good takedown entries. He'll shoot a lot of takedowns. Takedown defense, it's not bad. Up against the cage, it's good. It's worse in the open mat, but it's pretty good against the cage. But he does struggle to hold opponents down. So he's going to be shooting a lot of takedowns, trying to get the opponents to the mat, and then they're going to get back up. But, it's kind of similar to what Roposo is going to do. And as much as I want to be like, oh, line's too wide, this, that, and the other, I kind of get it, because I just think Maksum's going to do more the whole fight. So I'm going to have to take Azat Maksum here. I think he's going to do more. So I'm going to take Maksum to get it done, probably by doing more. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next one. It is a card with far too many heavyweight fights. We have another one here. Chris Barnett takes on Hamdy Abdelwhab. Abdul-Wahab is a big-time favorite at minus 353 over on Cloudbet. The comeback for Barnett is plus 297, and it's kind of odd to pay a premium price on Hamdy Abdelwhab with only, 6 fights. One of them doesn't really count, but 5 fights on the official record, not including the no contest, against a guy with quite a bit more fights, over 30 professional fights at 23-9, but he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. And if you've watched Chris Barnett, you know that he's like 5'8" at heavyweight. And it's all in that belly. So that's you kind of, the eye test tells you Hamdy it makes total sense. But then again, you look at the experience and you're like, okay, what could be wrong here? Well, let's break down their skills. Because in the striking for Hamdy Abdelwhab, he's just decent, right? He loops his punches and throws a lot of single shots. So that's not great, but he will come forward. He does have decent power, and he does have a really solid heavy leg kick. I do like the leg kick for Hamdy. His grappling, though, is where he's good. And if you notice, I didn't write anything for grappling here for Barnett because he didn't really have any, or at least not any that is, passable at this level. But if Hamdy goes to the grappling, he's got the takedowns, good body lock and trip, he's got good slams, good top pressure, good ground and pound, and he's hard to take down himself. Problem is he gets tired when he does that. That could be a problem for him. But if he goes to this, I think he probably gets it done early. However, if he stays on the feet with Chris Barnett, I know this doesn't make any sense, but Chris Barnett's got really dynamic kicks. He's got plenty of power, an unorthodox style, and the dude's surprisingly athletic. You don't see a 5'8" heavyweight throw spinning heel kicks that knock guys out very often. Chris Barnett does it. So, he's the guy that could just get you the meme finish, as people will say, and he'll get you that. And it's kind of frustrating because you go against the guy and you're like, well, didn't see that coming, or you kind of were like, God, no way he does that again, right? And he will sometimes. But I understand why Hamdy is the favorite based on the skills and just kind of path to victory. But at the same time, do you really want to lay minus 353 on a guy with 6 professional fights? I don't know. I'm going to take Hamdy because you kind of gotta, but there's a lot of that on this card, apparently. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. We get a matchup at 145 pounds. Jose Delgado takes on Nathaniel Wood. Wood is 4-1 in his last 5, 5-0 in the last 5 for Delgado. Now, when we look at this one here, Wood is the slight underdog at plus 130 over on Cloudbet. The return for Delgado is minus 147. I think both these guys match up pretty well, right? They both have similar strengths and weaknesses, just a little bit different styles in them. So for Nathaniel Wood, good striker, really solid striker actually. He's got really good leg kicks, kind of works them to accumulation, good combinations. He's accurate, keeps his high guard. Hand speed is the thing that I think is the biggest weapon for him, because it translates really well from him being a former bantamweight coming up to featherweight. He's a little quicker than a lot of these guys, and I think that hand speed plays off good for him. But the problem is he's also still a little bit smaller than a lot of these guys, being a former bantamweight. He's a good grappler, though. Mixes in the takedowns well. He's got good trips, good sprawl to keep the fight on the feet if he wants to. Top controls there. He's opportunistic with his submissions, and he likes to attack the chokes particularly. On the other side, for Delgado, solid striker, right? The guy has a pretty good ability to come forward, but yet control the range. What do I mean by that? What I mean is he comes forward, but while he's doing so, he's maintaining the proper distance that keeps people at the end of his punches, the end of his kicks, things like that, rather than overcrowding and finding himself in a position where he can't land with maximum effectiveness. So he's good at that. Good combinations, good teeps, and good knees up the middle as well. The power is there, and he has pretty solid head movement. The problem is he relies on it quite a bit. Now, why is that a problem? Well, because you're going to screw things up at some point. Like, nobody's perfect in there, right? You're gonna have issues. So if you rely on head movement, that means if you mess up, the consequences are bigger than if you rely on blocking. Because a lot of times if you rely on blocking, sure, you're still taking some impact when people land on your guard. However, when you screw up, you're usually only kind of screwing up. Like, you're less likely to get hit just flush as you are if you're trying to move your head out of the way and you just get kicked up in the side of the head. If you're blocking and you maybe sort of block it and their punch gets through, but it kind of hits your guard a little bit, that's not so bad. So, it's a give and take. It's like this, there's a lot of good to the head movement thing, but, if you mess up, like I said, it can be bad. In the grappling, he's pretty good there, is Delgado. He's got a good body lock takedown. He'll float on top, so he doesn't really commit heavy pressure. He just kind of stays and moves above where his opponent is next. So that's something I actually really like for him. And he's got pretty good ground and pound. Ultimately, in this one, I think it's close. I think both guys have a clear path to victory. Both guys have ways that they can win this fight, but I'm going to side with the Delgado side here. I think he's got a lot of momentum coming off of that big-time win over Hyder Emil. I think he showed that he is much better than a lot of people were giving him credit for, although he was a prospect going into that. There were quite a few people, including myself, who thought Emil was going to win. I was proven wrong. Delgado proved me wrong. I believe that this is a spot where he's going to continue that trajectory. But Nathaniel Wood is not somebody to count out, so maybe this is one you sit back and watch, crack open a root beer, and enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think. Now we're at heavyweight. We got a couple of guys who had different opponents on recent cards that just kind of fell apart. They're now fighting each other because at heavyweight, most of these guys aren't really cutting weight. They're just kind of show up at whatever they weigh. And that's what we get. So we got Valter Walker and Louie Sutherland. Both of them are 4-1 in their last 5 fights. Should be an interesting matchup because when we look at Louie Sutherland, he's a good striker by heavyweight standards, right? He's got decent power, some semblance of combinations, frequent leg kicks. In fact, he gets his kicks going to most levels, but the leg kick is the one he's throwing the most of the time. He'll poke his jab out there. He doubles it up. He triples it up. But every now and then, he just decides to charge in with his hands down. No idea why. Just decides to do that out of nowhere for no reason. But yeah, then he'll sometimes shoot takedowns, and they're decent, but he doesn't really get low enough. Now, he's not shooting in to get to these body lock takedowns and go that way. He's trying to get to the legs to shoot a traditional lower body takedown, right? Like a single leg, double leg type of thing. But he doesn't get low enough. So what happens is he gets like this, and then instead of going low, you need to get low and then go in for the shot. He doesn't do that. He just kind of sort of gets lower. It's hard when you're a big guy, all right? Have some sympathy here. But because of that, he ends up in a cage push a lot of the time, which is fine. That's why it's not a bad thing necessarily. You can win in a cage push. You can just smother guys against the cage. So he'll do that. So there we go. I do think he's a better striker here. But that's because Valter Walker's striking is bad. I put average because I had it as poor, but in his last fight against Nzechukwu, I think the fear of the grappling kind of made it so Walker was able to back him up on the feet even with how bad his striking is. So it gives it a bump even though his striking skill hasn't gotten any better. At least from what I can tell. He does have a decent step-in knee. I'll give him that. That's good. The rest of it's bad, and he has no striking defense, and he seems super uncomfortable. It seems like he just doesn't know what he's doing up there. So that's a problem for him. but he's a really good grappler. He's got solid grappling. And for the heavyweight division, right? I mean, like, if you compare skill for skill with with most heavyweight grapplers to, like, you know, one of the lower weight classes, flyweight through lightweight, for example, even welterweight, flyweight through welterweight, for example, or middleweight, literally any weight class outside of heavyweight and light heavyweight. If you compare the grappling skill of those smaller weight classes against the highest level of the bigger weight classes, typically the littler guys are going to have a better grappling skill set, but we're comparing them across the division, right? So Walter Walker's skill set isn't being compared to Alessandro Pantoja for that example. It's against other heavyweights. And against other heavyweights, Walter Walker's got solid grappling, darn it. He's got good takedowns, and he'll still shoot when he's exhausted. That's about all you need at heavyweight. But he's got more. He's got pretty good top pressure if he can get the fight to the mat. Now, he did struggle to get the fight to the mat against Rebecki, which is weird, but it was a debut. So, you know, debuts are hard. That is still his only loss, and he's beaten guys better than Rebecki, so I don't know. Not a lot better than Rebecki, but better than Rebecki, darn it. I'd say Injachuk was better than Rebecki. Either way, top pressure is pretty good. He's a grinder. Just kind of does what he needs to do to grind guys out. He'll go to the ground and pound eventually, but he's going to establish his position first. And if you still are squirming under there, he's just going to worry about position. He does not care about hurting you at all, because he's probably winning just staying on top. But this dude's on a heel hook streak. 3 of them in a row. That's gotta, I mean, at some point, he's going to go for a heel hook and fail miserably and get ruined because of it. But I don't know that that's here. I think he can beat Sutherland. I do. And that's because Sutherland, well, yeah, I mean, you saw him weigh in for that fight that he was supposed to have against Tafa, and that didn't look good at all. Or face off, I guess. I don't know if they actually ended up weighing in or it got canceled before that. But we saw him face off, and he didn't look like the same Louie Sutherland we saw in the regional scene. Walter Walker's pretty decent. I'm going to take Walter Walker. But at some point, that if he just keeps going for these heel hooks like he is, where he's just dropping to the mat and going for him, it's going to be a problem for him. Just, I don't think it's here. But anyway, let me know what you think. I probably rambled about this one too much. 55ers next. Matheus Camilo takes on Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady. Interesting fight. Both of these guys are 4-1 in their last 5 fights. Now, if you remember Camilo, I think is how you say it, when he made his debut against Gabe Green, he was a pretty decent favorite over a UFC veteran. And we cashed on Gabe Green. But Camilo, that's his debut. It's what happens. He's now in here against somebody that's probably a little closer to his level. Gabe Green would be a pretty decent step up for both of these guys. As far as, winnable competition. So now he's got something a little bit more attainable. Now, can he win? We'll see. We'll talk about this. So Camilo, decent striker, works his jab, decent power, but he throws a lot of single shots. Nothing super impressive on the feet, in my opinion. I think he's a better grappler than he is striker. He's a pretty good grappler who will stick to his takedown. So if he shoots takedown, doesn't get it, he's going to keep going for it, right? He's not going to chain these branching style takedown attempts. But he'll stick to the one he's working on, and he's going to keep working for it, which is, it's better than just shooting a takedown, failing, and then, I don't know, can't do that anymore. So he does okay, right? He does well. Decent top control. He does work to advance his position pretty well. Now, he's fighting somebody who's pretty similar to him in Al-Selwady. Now, Al-Selwady's a decent striker as well. Similar idea. Comes forward, decent enough power. High guard, though. That's something I like to see. I like the high guard at Al-Selwady because he knows he's not a great striker. He's very limited in the striking. But he does this and comes forward. And that's going to help him get to this. He's a good grappler. I would say he's a little bit better grappler than Camilo. Maybe not, but a little bit. I think he is. He's got good takedowns. He's got good ability to catch kicks. He has a pretty powerful double leg. He works to get to mount right away. That's what he's going for, is the mount. He's got pretty good top pressure and good ground and pound. He uses that pressure to help him pass. He goes heavy pressure down, passes the position, works to get to mount, heavy pressure down. Very much the heavy pressure style is what he's looking at. Now, I think both guys have similar styles. I think both guys are live to win this fight. I don't think either guy has a really high ceiling in the UFC, but I think both of them are live to get a win here. I'm going to side with Al-Selwady because I do think he's a little bit better everywhere by just like the slightest of margin, which isn't enough to make someone confident in him. Even because the way that these fights work, and I know that a lot of you can't understand this because I see your comments, but I will tell you, when you're looking at these fights, you're making a prediction for who's going to win, right? But if you run the fight 100 times, like you can't do that. This is a real world. This isn't a simulation. But if you run the fight 100 times, you would assume in most fights, the same fighter doesn't win all 100 times. We're trying to pick the person that we think is going to win more often than not, essentially. For me, that's Al-Selwady, but like by this much. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Our next matchup, we find ourselves at lightweight. Mateusz Rebecki takes on Ludovit Klein. Klein is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, 3-2 for Rebecki. When we look at the odds, Cloudbet's got you covered with a plus 122 on Rebecki and a minus 138 on Klein. That's a pretty good number right there. Minus 138, I like that. Anyway, to the fight breakdown, not just commenting on my own channel name. Ludovit Klein is a solid striker. I like a lot of stuff from his striking. He does kind of have some disadvantage of being kind of like a shorter and shorter-limbed fighter. But he's going against Rebecki, who is also kind of in that boat. So that doesn't really matter too much to him. For his combinations, they're pretty solid. He puts his punches and kicks together very well. Good power. He counter-strikes well. But the best tool that he has in his arsenal for Klein, in my opinion, are those kicks. He got absolutely nasty kicks, and he does it to all levels. Decent grappler. He's pretty good at using his counter wrestling, and I think that's his best part of his grappling. He gets the underhooks really well, keeps the fight on the feet when he wants it, but he does have decent takedowns if he needs to mix them in. And a ground and pound, he'll go right to the elbows, which is kind of what you want to see. On the other side for Rebecki, decent striker. His leg kick and his power is kind of what it is. Powerful overhand and heavy leg kick. That's what he does. He comes forward and throws those. He's been taking a ton of damage lately, and he's been durable, right? Like, it's not like he's just out there. To finish him, you need to put it on, like really put it on this guy. It's not like he's just getting wobbled by every punch he's getting hit with, but he's been taking a lot of hits. So that's not something you want, as a fighter or as a coach looking at your fighter being like, dude, you got to quit taking this damage. And then they put him against another striker. So that's a problem for him. He needs to get his grappling going because I do think Rebecki has an edge in the grappling if he can get it to the mat. He does have good takedown defense, so I don't think he's got to worry about the takedowns of Klein. Klein's not really shooting takedowns, not often, especially not against a grappler. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Either way, we highlight it anyway because that's what we do. We just put it out. Does have good takedowns. Rebecki does. They're not perfect. They're not great, but they're pretty good. And we see the way to beat Klein is probably neutralize his striking with takedowns, right? I mean, that's kind of what you want to do. He does have pretty good top pressure, and he is powerful in those grappling exchanges. The guy's a strong, kind of bowling ball-looking dude. But I think he's going to struggle to get this fight to the mat consistently over 3 rounds. I think Klein's going to be able to beat him, and that minus 138 is probably an okay number. I'm going to take Ludovit Klein to get this one done. I think he's going to have enough of a striking advantage to do well here. But could be wrong, have been before. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. We're at 185 pounds, where Ikram Aliskerov takes on Jun-Young Park. Both guys 4-1 in their last 5 fights. Let's start with Park. Good striker. He has a really good jab, and he doubles it up, and he puts out a lot of volume. So that's something you like. I do think he's going to have a volume advantage here. I think Park is the guy that if it's volume-based, he's probably going to be up on the numbers. He's also got good dirty boxing, and he can end up in a brawl. And in a brawl, he might have good striking defense, but the dude's durable, and the dude thrives in those brawls. I think that's his best path, is to make this a brawl. Now, he's a solid grappler. Don't get me wrong. He's got pretty good takedown defense. In fact, I think he's a better grappler than he is a striker. But I think that in the grappling, it's going to be harder for him to get a takedown. I think if he keeps us on the feet and just makes it ugly into a brawl, that's his best shot. He does have good cage push. He can control there. That dirty boxing translates over to the cage push as well. He does have a good back take and good rear naked choke if he does get the fight to the mat. But on the other side, for Ikram Aliskerov, he's a good striker, right? He's got good forward pressure, good straight punches, kicks and knees up the middle, things like that. Good counter striking. But he's probably going to get out volume by Park. So he's going to be picking his shots, trying to land the better shots and not really get hit. His best path, in my opinion, is the grappling. Even though Park's got pretty good takedown defense, I think if Ikram Aliskerov gets on top of him, he's got good enough top pressure that he can stay there. He's got pretty good ground and pound. He's got good takedown defense of his own. His Kimura, I mean, it doesn't really work super well at this level, but it's there. He can use it for a sweep. He'll take the submission if he gets it. I do think his best path is to win rounds by getting on top, controlling minutes of the fight, and when they are on the feet, even if he does get outworked slightly, he needs to land clean shots. For me, this is a close fight. This is a really close fight. I think both guys have clear paths to victory, as I do in most fights. It's something that, for me, I think that it's going to end up being Ikram just a little bit more than it is going to be Park, because I think he's going to get on top and bank at least around that way. When it comes down to the final scorecards, which I do think we probably hit the final scorecards, I think it comes down to a close competitive fight where Ikram edges it out 29-28. But that's my opinion. I think it's close. I think the volume is going to go to Park, and I think that there's a little bit of upside from top pressure of Ikram, and I think he's going to probably land the cleaner shots that look a little more flashy. So I think we're going to have to go with Aliskerov by just a little bit. Let me know what you guys think. Late addition to the card. It's a lightweight bout. Nasrat Haqparast takes on Quillan Salkield. Both these guys, 5-0 in their last 5 fights. But if you look at the experience, 10 fights versus 23 fights. More than double the experience for Haqparast here. So that is an interesting thing to look at. But both guys have been on a run. Let's look at the skills for Salkield. He's a good striker. He's got good kicks to all levels. Puts together combinations, puts his punches and kicks together in said combinations. He counter-strikes well, got nasty elbows. I think the striking should be competitive between these two guys, but the grappling for Salkield, he should have an advantage here if he can get it to the mat. He's a solid grappler, where his takedowns come at the end of strikes. He attacks his chokes really well, good transitions, good ground and pound. He's active from the bottom as well, because his takedown defense isn't great, so he kind of needs to be. But he's going against a guy that wants to strike with him, right? Haqparast does not want to grapple. Now, he does have decent grappling up against the cage. He does have that really good kind of dirty boxing style against the cage, and that's probably an area where Haqparast is going to have a decent advantage. In the striking itself, the just pure striking, Haqparast is good. He's got good volume, good forward pressure, fast hands, works the body well, good counter striking. I think this is a competitive fight in the striking. I think we're going to get a lot of striking between these two, because I do think Salkield will struggle to get this to the mat, at least early. Later, it'll kind of depend on who gets tired first, right? And Haqparast doesn't ever seem to get tired. And another thing to note is that Haqparast just wins fights, even if you don't think he wins. Like, he probably could have lost 2 out of those last 5 fights with pretty decent confidence. I mean, like, at the end of the fight where I thought, okay, I think so-and-so won, Haqparast gets the nod. And just going off of memory on that, like, I don't remember my feeling watching it live, to be honest. But for that specific thing, I take notes live, but I didn't write if I felt like, oh, shucky darn, I think they gave it to the wrong guy. Unless it's an egregious robbery, then I'll write that down. It wasn't like that. It was like, guy could have lost. Either way. For me, Salkield has looked really good, but he hasn't fought the level of competition that Haqparast has. I'm going to take him, though. I'm going to take Salkield because of the potential, and I do think that if he can get this to the mat, he should have some success. But the problem is, I also can see this going to a decision that's pretty darn close, and somehow Haqparast comes out on top. This is a stay away completely for me. You heard me say that. Do not try to tell me I didn't say that in the comments. I'll see you in the next one. We got a matchup at 205 pounds where Alexander Rakic takes on Azamat Murzakanov. Now, in this one here, Murzakanov, yes, I keep checking my mic. I recorded this once before. Mike died midway through the recording. So we're trying this again. Bear with me, guys. For Azamat Murzakanov, he's 15-0, right? 5-0 in the last 5 fights. He's got a perfect record. Absolutely perfect on the career record. Not perfect in every performance. There's been some dicey moments, but he's perfect in the career. On the other side, Rakic, he's 14-5. Not a bad record, but he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He's on a bit of a slump. Now, he's been fighting the top guys in the division. He's fought Prohashka. He's fought Ankalaev. Like, these are top-tier fighters, top guys in the division. So you can't really fault him, but he's coming off of some losses. And I hate this usually is seeing a guy that's on a big winning streak versus a guy that's on a losing streak. I don't like it because... I may do a video on that for channel members. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. I might put it out for channel members. I realize most of the people that watch this channel aren't going to be interested in that. So that's why it'd be exclusively for channel members at $2.99 a month. No, I'm not begging for money on that. Just sign up if you want. If you don't want to, I don't care. Okay? I'm not asking you to do it. I'm giving you an option. But either way, I put it as for channel members, which is what I'll probably do because I realize it'll hurt my overall algorithm if I don't. Now, let's talk about this fight. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. Azamat Murzakanov, solid striker, right? He's got really fast hands, and he picks his shots extremely well. These two things are going to be really crucial in this fight, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. He's got good power, and he's got a really good step-in knee. There's a lot to like. Now, he doesn't really have the best reach and range in this division, but he's good at wading his way into the pocket and doing what he needs to do. Good grappler as well. He can mix in the takedowns, and he'll do that in his striking combinations. He'll come in, he'll be throwing the punches, and then he'll be like, whoop, going for that takedown right there. And he's going to, use the blending of the arts really well. Good ground and pound. A lot to like there. On the other side, for Rakic, solid striker. Different style, but solid striker. Good footwork, leg kicks. He'll work them to accumulation. He's got really good leg kicks. And I think if he starts doing that early, that's going to be a good option for him. He'll strike well on the clinch break. And when he sees his opponents are starting to get hurt and getting, beat up on the feet, he'll go for that finish, and when he does, it's a blitz. He'll come in, just pop, 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 pop with that blitz, just 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and then try to get that finish. down, right down the pipe, stuff like that. He'll put together good combinations as well, but the problem is he'll drop his hands mid-combo. That's not good for him here because he'll be throwing those combinations and the other hand's down here. And then it's like, but you don't want that against a guy like Murzakanov, who, like I said, has fast hands and picks his shots really well. This could be a big problem for Rakic. Now, Rakic does have plenty of pass, especially if you can keep it at kicking range where he's going to have the advantage there. Can mix in those kicks. And he does have a decent amount of grappling as well. Like, they're both good grapplers. For Rakic, he has very good reactive takedowns. So could he change levels and get under a strike from Murzakanov? Absolutely he could. He's got good upper body takedowns as well. And he's got good ground and pound if he gets on top. I do think Murzakanov is the one that's more likely to go for takedowns if they do. But I think both of these guys want to strike for the most part anyway. For me, I'm just seeing Murzakanov picking that shot mid-combo for Rakic when he drops his hands. That's what I'm seeing. And when you got him at minus 114, Cloudbet's giving you that, that's a decent number. I thought he was going to be an underdog, honestly, because Rakic has like the more name value. You're getting Rakic at plus 101. So I thought we were going to see Murzakanov as an underdog, because she's been an underdog in the past. And, minus 114, that ain't bad. But we're going to take Murzakanov to get it done. I think he's going to catch him when the combinations go and Rakic drops his hand. That's my thought. But let me know. I'll see you in the next one. Another heavyweight matchup on this card, and I don't know about you, but that's concerning. Either way, we're at 265 pounds. These heavyweights aren't as sloppy as some of the lower level heavyweights. We have Alexander Volkov taking on Jailton Almeida. Now, you will see that both of them are 4-1 in their last 5, but that's a bold-faced lie. Because Alexander Volkov beat Cyril Gane. I don't care what anybody tells me. This is wrong. But for the sake of the video, we have to go off his official record, which shows him 4-1 in his last 5 fights. But he beat Cyril Gane. I don't care. That's what I'm saying. I'm sticking to it. It's the truth. We had him there, and we got robbed. Either way. So let's break this one down, right? So Jailton Almeida. Cloudbet's got him at minus 200 for you. They've also got Alexander Volkov at plus 174. So no matter what side you're on, these odds are close enough that you could probably play something here, right? For Jailton Almeida, the striking defense is pretty good. He doesn't strike very often. Like, you saw, like, what was it, like his Contender Series fight where he got that, like, flying knee or something like that in there? But, yeah, the dude's not striking a lot, right? But he's got really good striking defense because he doesn't waste any time on the feet. He doesn't get hit. However, he does seem, when he does get hit, to really overreact to those strikes. That could be something I'm overreading into, but it looks like he doesn't react super well to getting hit. However, dude's a strong grappler. If Jailton Almeida gets a hold of you, those takedowns are there. He is a very solid takedown arsenal. He can get a hold of you, bring you to the mat, and keep you there. Good control, good ground and pound, and he's opportunistic with his submission attempts. Dude's got a high motor as well. He will start quick, he will drag you to the mat, and that is what he wants to do over and over again. And if he has to do it for 25 minutes, obviously this one's a 15-minute fight. If he has to do it for 25 minutes, we saw him do it to Derek Lewis, which was a fight. On the other side, we have Alexander Volkov. His wrestling and grappling is improving. Don't get me wrong. He does have decent counter wrestling, and if he gets on top, the top control is pretty decent, but he excels as a striker. He's a very solid striker. In fact, one of the better strikers in this division. He's got really good volume, strikes well to all levels. His front kick to the body is probably the best in the division, I would say. If it's not the best, it's number 2. Fights out of either stance, and he's excellent at programming his opponents with the strikes. He sets up his strikes by programming reactions out of his opponents probably better than anybody in the division. There's a couple of things that Volkov does better than anybody in the division. One of them, front kick to the body. The other one is programming his opponents. This dude is excellent at that. What do I mean by programming? So, for example, he will do a certain movement, right? Over and over again. A lot of times it's that front kick to the body. So that every time he does this and he lands it or whatever, his opponent now sees even just the slightest bit of that, and then they react to it. They bite on it really hard. But he's doing that to set up another strike. It's not in the way that some do, where they are trying to do that and then they'll change a level on something. He'll do it to set up a completely different strike, where he'll, throw the hip and then he's coming back with something else. It's sometimes he'll just change the level on it, don't get me wrong. But a lot of times it's to set up something else. And he does a really good job at getting opponents to bite on these fakes because he's hit them with that over and over again. And now when he feints it, he's got you biting because he's spent the time investing in that. He's not just throwing stuff willy-nilly, like whatever looks open. Even if he knows it's not going to hit, he's like, okay, I need to put this here. Or, oh, I need to put this here. And he does it very well. Very well. Here's how I see this going down. Either Jailton Almeida comes out there, gets the takedowns early and often, and controls Volkov on the mat and probably gets a sub at some point. Maybe not first round, but possibly second. Or Jailton Almeida goes out there, gets a takedown, but doesn't hold Volkov down the whole time. Volkov probably finds a way to get back to his feet and starts landing shots. Probably some of them front kicks to the body. Jailton's going to be start diving at legs, but Volkov's doing a really good job poking the body and bringing the leg all the way back. And then he's landing punches. And he's landing shots. And he's beating up on Almeida, and he gets the TKO. One of those things is what I'm thinking happens. I think it's going to be a later, second round finish for either guy, maybe third. But I got to go Volkov because I think he is going to be able to not get taken down immediately. Or if he does get taken down immediately, I think he can either get back up or stay safe on the mat and then take over with the striking later. I'm going to have to go Volkov. But it's close. Darn good fight. And whoever wins is going to look like a big-time favorite. At least in my opinion. Just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Bantamweights here where Umar Nurmagomedov takes on Mario Bautista. Bautista has looked great as of late. He's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. 4-1 for Nurmagomedov. The only loss coming to the champion, Merab Dvalishvili. But when you look at the line, Cloudbet's got you covered with -500 for Nurmagomedov and a +404 for Bautista. You might be wondering why a guy that's 5-0, 16-2 on the career is a +404 underdog. Well, it's because he's fighting Umar Nurmagomedov, who had the best showing against the champion in recent memory. I mean, the guy won 2 rounds pretty clear, but lost the other 3. So there's that. But Bautista's looked gosh darn good, and he's beaten some guys where he's been the underdog. He's been coming through. And I do think he has a hard style for a guy like Nurmagomedov. So let's talk about their skills. Bautista. Good striker with good movement on the feet, good volume, and plenty of power. He can outpace guys, too, and that's something that he will probably look to do here is put that pace on early, get the volume going, and start landing his shots. He's a good grappler, too. In fact, he's a solid grappler. He's got really good takedowns, excellent scrambles, and he goes for that rear naked choke just whenever he can get to the back. So he's attacking the chokes, he's attacking other submissions in general, but He's doing what he needs to do when he gets the fight to the ground to just keep the opponent working. It's the pace. But on the feet, I think if he keeps it at boxing range, that's his best bet because you don't want to stay at kicking range against Nurmagomedov. And let me talk about why. Because for Umar Nurmagomedov, the guy's a solid striker. He does have really good kicks. He can fight out of either stance. He can kick off of either leg, and he's got a really nice question mark kick. That's something we saw him land on Merab quite a bit, was that question mark kick. He did that to great effect early in the fight. He's got good counter striking. He's got plenty of power in the hands and the kicks. So there's a lot to like in the striking, but like I said, at boxing range, I think Bautista has a little bit of an advantage. At kicking range, I think Nurmagomedov has an advantage. Not to say that the other guy can't do well in the other... You get what I'm saying. Anyway, can you tell it's been a while since I've recorded one of these? I did all the other ones really early, like ahead of time, because I was going on vacation. So, man, maybe I'm rusty. Either way, ring rust, even when it comes to writing on marker boards. Solid grappler is Nurmagomedov. He does have really good takedowns. Really nice single leg. He has a good double leg under his opponent's strikes. When they come up with the boxing, he changes levels, shoots in, gets that double leg. He'll chain his takedowns pretty well. And if he ends up backing him up to the cage with that, he's got nice takedowns against the cage as well. Good control, good ground and pound. He likes to trap the arm of his opponent and then just kind of use that. Because let me explain it. So if you got your opponent on the ground and you take their arm maybe around their back or around their side or what have you with your arm, what that does is if you're on top, the arm, if you're using, say, your right or left arm to trap their arm of the opposite side, you now have that hand that is free to hit the side that doesn't have a hand defending it, unless they're reaching across their face, which you're not going to be as effective. He does that really well. I hope I explained that well. But that often leads to a rear naked choke, because often they're like this. He's got the arm trapped here, or he's got the arm trapped like this, and they're on their side. To get out of that, you got to turn, right? So you got to like, oh, shoot, I got to turn to get out of this. And because you get hit in the face, you kind of want to do that. And then you get the rear naked choke. Umar's really good at that. I don't know that I really love the -500, but I totally get it. So, yeah, I'm going to take Umar Nurmagomedov. I think he's a better fighter here. I don't think that over 3 rounds he can outpoint, or that Mario Bautista can outpoint Umar. So I'm going to take Nurmagomedov to get it done. I think he can win decision. I can get a knockout. I can get a submission. I think Bautista is going to have a hard time winning a decision. So I think he would need a finish. And Umar's really tough to finish. So let me know what you guys think. That's how I've landed there. We've got a vacant strawweight title fight in the co-main event on this card, folks. And if you're still here and you've been enjoying this, hit the like button for me. I do appreciate it. Do whatever you like, but the like button is appreciated. Now, let's break this down. 115-pound matchup. Like I said, vacant strawweight title. Now, this is a rematch. We'll talk about that more in a bit. But we have Virna Jandiroba, who's on a tear. 5-0 in the last 5. She's taking on Mackenzie Dern, who's 3-2 in her last 5. But, 3-2 is still pretty gosh darn good, especially given the circumstances, which we'll talk about in a minute. But let's break this down. Cloudbet's going to give you the favorite in Mackenzie Dern at -162. On the comeback, you can get Virna Jandiroba at +142. Let's break down Dern first. Now, decent striking. It's inconsistent at best because she'll show improvement, but then sometimes it just she reverts back to what she was before. So I don't really know. But striking defense is abysmal, but she's durable. And I'm going to cover Virna's striking as well because it's pretty much the same. Neither of them are good strikers, but Virna does have a little better forward pressure, I would say. But neither of them are good strikers whatsoever, right? And they both have horrible defense and are both durable. So if we just get those two just swinging bombs on the feet, much like their first fight, for most of it anyway, I mean, it probably goes kind of similar. Right? Which Mackenzie Dern won that one. So if we're going just striking for striking, maybe you lean Dern, and I see why she's the favorite. She won the first matchup. She does have a win over Virna Jandiroba, who has only lost 3 times in her career, one of which was to Mackenzie Dern, that she now has to fight again for the vacant title. Now, let's talk about grappling. For Mackenzie Dern, solid grappler. She's one of the better just pure jiu-jitsu players in the entire UFC, right? Especially in the women's division, or the women's strawweight division for sure. So you got a lot there, right? She's got good transitions, really good control, submission arsenal's there. She works to advance her position extremely well, but she doesn't have the best takedowns. So getting the fight to the mat on her terms is tough, which is kind of why you end up in a striking match last time, because Virna at the time didn't have very good takedowns either. Now, when they're fighting again, Virna is also a solid grappler. Virna Jandiroba has decent takedowns, a little better than Dern's. Mostly because if she gets a hold of you, she just rip you to the mat however she can. She does not care what she has to do to get you to the mat. She's going to do it. Even if that's just not a takedown, but it's we're both going to the mat and we're going to hope that I end up on top or on your back type of thing. She'll do that. So I think she's a little better in that area. But outside of that, very similar. Good control, good back taker, good submission arsenal. It's really tough to decide. Because, and I know it's not lost on me that Mackenzie Dern won the first matchup, and you should probably take her if you're just going to look at that one. But they've changed since then. They've both been improving. Mackenzie Dern's improving her striking, whereas Virna's improved her takedowns. I think that's key. I'm going to take Virna Jandiroba. Maybe it's because I'm a big Virna Jandiroba fan, so maybe that is getting in the way. I hope it isn't. I don't want to believe that is why. I just think that if you're going to have a matchup between these two who are very similar in their fighting, if the one that is getting the takedowns, which I think Virna can, is probably the one that's going to get the win. So I'm going to go Virna Jandiroba, but boy, I do not know for sure how I feel about that, and that is scary. So let me know what you think. I will see you guys in the main event. Of course, we've got another heavyweight fight. Now, this one is one you're probably excited for. I get it. I am too. We have the defending undisputed champion, Tom Aspinall. Finally, he gets that recognition. He should have had it for quite some time. He defended the belt, as an interim champion. And realistically, we all know he was the rightful heavyweight champion anyway. But he's now fighting Ciryl Gane, who is 3-2 in his last 5, and he's lost both times they've given him a title fight. Probably should have also lost that Volkov fight, but we're going to let that one die here. That's the last time I'm going to mention that. Either way, 4-1 in the last 5 for Aspinall. The one loss is when he blew out his knee. Wasn't like the fight just started and he blew out his knee. So it's it happened, but it is what it is. So for Cloudbet, they're going to give you Tom Aspinall at -350 and Ciryl Gane at +295. Now you might be thinking, wow, that's a pretty wide line for this matchup for a guy that, 13-2 versus 15-3. I understand. I get it. Let's talk about the skills. Let's start with Gane. Gane is a very solid striker. Really good in and out movement. He fights out of either stance, and he switches his stance frequently and uses that in order to close the distance. He feints a lot. He's super accurate, and he cuts off the cage very well. There's a lot to like in the striking. Good combinations. His striking tempo is constantly changing, which makes him really hard to get a read on. He's also got a really excellent keep kick. There's a lot to like in the striking. Now, I have a whole lot more notes on Gane's striking up on the Patreon. Now, this isn't me trying to tell you that you need to go subscribe to the Patreon. I'm just telling you that it's there if that's something that you want to do. My notes are up there under the friend tier. It's $9.99. You can do that if you wish. If you don't want to, that's fine too. There's some other stuff you can find over there, but for the sake of this, since this is a full card breakdown and not an individual fight breakdown, you're getting the the Spark Notes version, if you will. Spark Notes, if you're old enough to remember what that is, that's cool. Either way, for Gane, tie clinch, also a good thing that he has. He's got pretty good control, pretty good knees and elbows. Notice I didn't put grappling. It's not that good. It's not that good. Not good at all. I mean, either it's really not that good. His takedown defense isn't bad, right? Because it's not great by any means, but it's not bad. Because he was able to stop like Spivak when he was trying to take him down. And Jones didn't really even have to take him down. He just kind of like ran him over. But yeah, the grappling isn't there for Gane. It's just not there. Dude's a kickboxer. That's going to get you far in the heavyweight division. It has gotten him far. But the grappling isn't there. On the other side, for Tom Aspinall, dude's also a solid striker. A little different, but solid striker. A little different style. Good boxing combinations. Movements there. Darts in. Leaves his chin wide open, though, so that's a problem. Hasn't really cost him yet, somehow. But, at least not in the UFC. Knees up the middle are good. Clean jab and a ton of power. This dude has the shortest average fight time in the UFC for a reason. The dude just goes in there and slings these bombs, puts guys out immediately, or subs them, whatever he's got to do. And that's where that comes in. The grappling, solid grappler as well. He's got good takedowns, works to advance his position, very good top pressure, uses his knee as a pivot point, which I love to see. He's accurate in the ground and pound, and he seeks that submission. The more well-rounded fighter here is Tom Aspinall. Who's the prettier striker? Yeah, it's probably Gane, don't get me wrong. But the more well-rounded fighter here is Tom Aspinall. Aspinall can knock out Gane. Aspinall can submit Gane. I don't know if he can win a decision. Like, maybe. Over 5 rounds, I don't know what would happen. Honestly, there's just nothing to go on here. Aspinall's got the shortest average fight time in the UFC for a reason. Who knows what he looked like in round 5? Probably fine, but who knows? For Gane, we know what he'll look like in round 5. We've seen it. It's fine. He doesn't look like he's not just dead tired, so that's good. He's got that going for him. But realistically, Aspinall wants to get this done early. That's how he fights. So I think we're probably going to find out pretty quick who's going to win. I'm going to take Tom Aspinall. I feel like he packs up Gane in the first round. Not to say that Gane isn't skilled. I just think that there's a big stylistic hole in Gane's game if Aspinall wants to grapple. And I think that Gane knows that. And I think if Aspinall comes out there and even makes it look like he's going for the takedown and then comes back up with the 1-2, I think the 1-2 lands, and I think he sits Gane down and finishes him off real quick. So we're taking Tom Aspinall, not Chris Farley. Tommy Boy to get the win. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you haven't liked the video yet, I don't know what you're doing. Just hit the like button. It takes a couple of seconds. If you're watching on the TV, I understand. Pull up your phone and hit it. Thank you so much. Watch one of the other videos that popped up on screen. I will see you down the road.